Have you ever looked around your house and thought, man, I could use another coffee mug, or two, or 17 every year for my entire adult career? Well, you could take up pottery, or become the beloved caregiver to a childless mug empire heiress, or you could become a teacher. Because in exchange for shaping the future of our species and keeping 20 plus kids alive and educated every day, teachers get a lot of coffee mugs, but also so much more. So if you want a fun, rewarding, hands-on career and plenty of coffee mugs and snow globes and drawings of yourself with no neck and scary eyes, stay with us. Hi, I'm Philip Lindsay. This is Study Hall, and here's how to become a teacher. Most of us have had a lot of teachers over the years, so lots of people think they know what teachers do. But we might not be so familiar with what goes on behind the scenes. In general, teachers are the professionals in charge of educating students in schools. So they do a lot of stuff we'd expect them to do, like planning lessons, differentiating instruction, and aligning instruction to curricular standards. Basically, figuring out what to teach and how to teach it. But in a pre-K through 12 setting, all those students are also kids. So teachers aren't just teaching content, they're helping those kids learn how to be people. In that role, they have lots of responsibilities that don't always show up in job descriptions. Serious things like teaching kids how to resolve conflicts and taking them on field trips and communicating with their parents to help them get support at home. But also things like cleaning up the floodplain of EOS lip balms and Stanley cups left behind by a 10th grade class, or getting 20 kindergartners into coats and snow pants and boots when you're the only person in the room who can do up a zipper. Or calling Janine's mom to explain that she cut her hair under the table with safety scissors again. That's a wide variety, right? So one of the first questions to ask yourself is, what kind of teacher do you want to be? Because it changes the type of training and jobs you'll look for. One of the biggest differences is between elementary education and secondary education. Elementary teachers typically teach kindergarten through 5th grade, and they're generalist, which means they often teach a range of things including math, science, English, social studies, and how to exist in society. In lots of states, there's also a separate license for early childhood teachers who can usually teach preschool through 2nd or 3rd grade. Secondary teachers teach middle and high school students, and they're often content specialists, meaning they teach just one type of subject. Like, they might specialize in music, so they teach choir and band and put on the school production of Sweeney Todd, complete with murder, cannibalism, and simulated fiery deaths thanks to the art department's creative use of streamers and lighting. And throughout pre-K through 12 schools, there are also special education teachers who teach students with emotional or behavioral disabilities, learning differences, or other disabilities. And there are different types of schools too. There's public schools, which are funded by the state government and usually have the most students. There's private schools, which charge tuition and have more freedom in what they teach and how they operate because they're not government funded. There's charter schools, which are kind of a cross between the two. They get state funding and often have a specialized focus like STEM or the arts, and parochial schools, which are affiliated with religious organizations. But there is one thing most teachers have in common, and that's a really epic and extensive coffee mug collection. Sorry, I meant to say it's being criminally underpaid, and when you're thinking about a future career, that can be an important factor. In the 2022 to 2023 school year, the average salary for teachers in the US was around $68,000, which might not sound that criminal, but it's 26.4% less than professionals in other fields with the same levels of education. And that's not to mention private and parochial schools, where teachers sometimes make more, but usually a lot less. Early career teachers at some parochial schools, for instance, might make $30K or less. Many teachers and educators are working to change this and get the teaching profession the respect it deserves. But there's still all the other stuff that makes teaching fun and cool and unique. Like, you get to spend your days singing Conjunction Junction and seeing who can build the tallest Unifix cube tower. And more importantly, making a real, tangible difference in young people's lives. Despite the kind of low pay, lots of teachers say that they can't imagine themselves doing anything else. So if you think teaching is right for you, let's get into it. In most schools in the US, you can't just walk into the door and get a teaching job. Teachers have to have specific kinds of education and training and be able to prove that they're ready for the classroom. So before we go anywhere else, let's talk about licensure. If you've looked into teaching before, you might have seen advice about how to get your teaching license. And that's because most teachers have state-issued licenses or certifications that say, hey, this person is qualified to teach. Even though it's technically possible to teach without a license, getting one is usually a good idea, because all public schools and many of the other options require teachers to hold an active teaching license. Those licenses are usually specific to certain states and areas of teaching. So, getting licensed in California doesn't necessarily mean you'll be able to teach in Michigan. And you'll need a different license to teach first grade than you will to teach high school English. But if you're not positive what kind of teacher you want to be or where you want to work, don't panic. It's possible to add specialties and endorsements to your teaching license later on. And many states have reciprocity agreements that make it easier to transfer your license to different places. In general, the requirements to get a teaching license include some combination of classwork, fieldwork, and passing different tests. But it's different in every state, so it's important to do your research to find out exactly what's required for you. But whatever kind of license you want and wherever you want to teach, the process of getting one starts with the same step: getting a bachelor's degree. So, let's start by imagining you don't have a bachelor's degree yet. In that case, the most direct path would be to major in education as a part of an undergraduate teacher preparation program. These usually exist at four-year universities that offer education majors, and they're designed to give you everything you need to become a teacher, meeting both your classwork and fieldwork requirements. In your classes, you'll learn stuff like what the best practices are for teaching your subject, or how to assess students to make sure they're on track, how to manage a room full of 22, 7, or 17-year-olds, and how to safely disarm a scissor-wielding Janine. And your fieldwork will usually include classroom observation, where you'll help certified teachers do their thing in real classrooms, and student teaching, where you'll work as the teacher yourself alongside an experienced mentor teacher. You'll graduate with a bachelor's and all your requirements met, ready to pursue your license. Usually, you'll still have to take some tests to get it. But with your education and your hands-on practice, you should be ready to pass. So if you know before college that you want to be a teacher, an undergrad teacher prep program is an efficient way to go. But if you already have your bachelor's in some other field, you don't want to go through all that again. Or maybe you want to teach secondary science with your bachelor's in biology, so you've got your subject area courses down, but still need some education credits in fieldwork. Well, if you've already graduated from college, you can enroll in a post-baccalaureate teacher prep program instead. These programs are typically pretty quick, only 1 or 2 years, and they're certificate programs, which means they lead toward a professional license or certificate, not another degree. So, they're faster than undergrad programs, and they don't include gen ed requirements. Some of them also count towards master's programs, so with a few extra classes, you could get your master's in education too. Teacher prep programs, undergrad or post-bac, are pretty straight shots into teacherhood. They'll make sure you have what you need to get licensed in your state, which gives you a couple less things to worry about. And they provide a lot of support to help you become a successful teacher. And they usually have connections with schools in the area to place their student teachers, which can help you get your foot in the door for jobs later. But they have drawbacks too. Money is a big one. At least in the US, higher education is expensive, and teacher college is no different. Depending on where you go, you might end up needing a lot of Unifix cubes to tally up your dues and loans. And beyond just the cost of the program, you'll usually have to student teach for at least a semester, and sometimes an entire year. And that might be unpaid, which can be a lot if you're already struggling to pay for your education. Luckily, there are also alternative routes to licensure, which can get your field experience while getting paid. As long as you have a bachelor's degree, they let you get your fieldwork requirements by working as a teacher of record or an official paid classroom teacher. You will still have to meet your coursework requirements by taking classes at a university, but alternative routes can get you your license and your paycheck all in one go. And alternative teacher prep programs can help guide you through the process. For example, nonprofits like Teach for America and Teachers of Tomorrow help recent college grads get certified to teach, even if they didn't major in education. They start by helping you get an alternative license, which allows you to act as the teacher of record without a full-fledged teaching license. Then they'll help place you at a partnering school where you'll get your field experience by teaching on your own for a full salary. But if you're not a recent grad, or you're just a free spirit like Janine, you don't have to go through a program like Teach for America to get your teaching placement. You just have to have the skills to get hired. Unless you've been living under a coffee mug for the last 10 years, you probably know that the US is in a teacher shortage, especially in public schools. Because of this, states and school districts want to make it possible for qualified people to become teachers, even if they don't follow the traditional path to get there. So if you're willing to do some coursework on your own time and have the classroom skills to land a teaching job, they're often pretty willing to help you get a license. I know I said before that public school teachers have to be licensed, and it's true. You do have to have some kind of license to work as the teacher of record. But in lots of states, public schools that are strapped for teachers can hire teachers under emergency, temporary, or alternative licenses. That means you can apply without a license. And if you're hired, the school will work with the state to get you the initial certification to start teaching. Or you could look for a job at a private, charter, or parochial school. They sometimes aren't held to the same licensing requirements as public schools. So you might be able to teach there with no certification, not even an alternative one. Once you have the job, your school or district can help you get your full teaching license while you work for them. These alternative routes are great for people who already have experience working with kids or experience in a subject like math or history. So if you're a chemical engineer who wants to teach what you know to high schoolers, or a longtime daycare worker looking to graduate to public preschool, they might be the perfect choice. They let you learn through the full experience of teaching. Just you, 20 kids, and 35 coffee mugs against the world. That gives you a lot of freedom to try things out and see what works. And for the right kind of person, that's a great way to learn. But alternative routes can be a little bit of a trial by fire, and not the good kind of fire my middle schoolers are always talking about. Student teaching provides a lot of scaffolding and support that can be really clutch for new teachers. Skipping out on that, especially if you don't have prior classroom experience, can leave you feeling a little less prepared when you walk into your own classroom. And some people think it can produce teachers who just aren't as ready for the job. After all, you're basically being thrown to the wolves. I mean kids, with little experience and sometimes not very much support. So, if student teaching seems financially impossible and alternative licensure seems like too steep of a learning curve, there is a third option. In 2024, it's not super common yet, but a lot of people think it's the next big thing for teacher education. It's called teacher apprenticeship, and it's a lot like student teaching, except that you get paid to do it. You work in a classroom with an experienced mentor teacher, a lot like student teachers do. But unlike student teaching, apprenticeships usually pay full entry-level salaries, and they often help finance your classes and other licensing requirements too. In 2024, these programs are still pretty new, so not every state or district has them. And there are some worries about quality control and whether all apprenticeship programs are equipped to produce strong, independent teachers. But as of April this year, they're available in 34 states. So if you can find a good one in your area, they're another great way to get your license. Both formal and alternative routes are totally valid ways to get licensed as a teacher. And honestly, teacher prep program or no, your first couple years of teaching will probably be a wild ride. It's a hard job with a steep learning curve, and you don't know what you'll be up against until you're in it. But that's part of what's cool about teaching. You get better, way better every year. Every confiscated vape and under-the-table haircut becomes a learning opportunity that makes the next hard thing easier. And then one day, a year or two, or 10 down the road, you walk into your classroom and gaze out over the amber waves of desks and think, hey, I've got this. Now, when it comes to getting started, you've got tons of options. Whether you student teach, take an alternative route, or do an apprenticeship, you'll probably have connections in the school or district where you work. If you like it there, and they like you might be able to stick around for a long time. Or if that first school wasn't right for you, you can look around for jobs in other schools or districts. You could even switch to a different type of school, like moving from public to private to get more freedom, or from parochial to public for a little higher pay. Or there are even some schools like the Florida Virtual School where you could get out of the physical classroom completely and teach totally online. Schools often post their job listings on regular job boards like Indeed, but public schools also use their own job boards, which you can usually find on their district websites. Keep in mind that schools often hire teachers well in advance, so if you want a new job for the next school year, it's good to start looking in the winter or spring of this year. Even if that first teaching job just isn't the vibe, there are all kinds of schools with all kinds of cultures. So don't get discouraged. If you're a good teacher who loves what you do, there is a place for you. So if you love coffee mugs as much as I do, or even if you don't, teaching is a super rewarding career. But you don't have to take my word for it. If you're interested in teaching but not quite sold, you can try substitute teaching at a school district near you, or teaching younger kids at a daycare or private preschool. You can do those jobs with a lot fewer requirements and a lot less commitment. And they're great ways to test the shark-filled waters of teaching. Oh, wait, those aren't sharks. Just safety scissors again. There are lots of different paths to teacherhood, and everybody's will look a little bit different. But with the right training and a lot of practice, you'll end up with a heart full of love hands full of coffee cups, and lots of students who are really glad you're there. If you want to learn more about undergrad major options, check out our Fast Guide series where we dive into popular college majors. And check out gostudyhall.com for more resources. If you want to help us out, give this video a like, tell us about your favorite teacher, and smash that subscribe button. Thanks for watching. See you next time.